most
So yeah,
definitely.
speaking of the next topic, um, the next kind of question is, what do you think newcomers misunderstand about
Yeah,
FPV? And
yeah.
Kristen,
So,
continue.
yeah, your DJI Neo that you're learning to fly acro on. Goodness me, it's really difficult what you're doing. If you can fly acro with that thing and
Yeah,
fly it well, then goodness, you're going to find a 5 inch really easy.
yeah.
Hmm.
But that's it. When you kind of you go online and you see nice cinematic footage and smooth flying and things like that, I'm sure newcomers look at that and go, "Oh, well, that's going to be
Yes.
super simple." Camera drones, I have one of those, and then they
Hmm.
try FPV, and suddenly you realize it's more technical and way more
Yeah, for
frustrating.
sure.
Oh yeah. What you learn, the thing I've noticed is you learn how to deal with cameras and stuff. And I've done a little bit of photography in my day, but dealing with the drones and stuff and dealing with flying fast and the footage and lighting and all that kind of stuff, you really have to learn how to get the best results out of your camera. You really you learn a lot of disciplines that you didn't realize you would ever learn, like learn how to solder, learn how electronics work, you know, dealing
Yeah.
with batteries and how they're managed, dealing with cameras, how that stuff's managed. I mean, there's so many aspects of
How to
it that
bind
you have to learn.
your drone
Learning,
to your radio. Yes.
yeah, the radio stuff. I mean, and then just from like logistical standpoint, learning how to be aware of the area that you're in, learning spatial awareness, where you're at. You know, things look one way from the ground, things look drastically different from the air, and you think that you're somewhere and you're somewhere completely different. You know, I know I've crashed
Yeah,
before and think I'm right over here, and I would be on a completely opposite side of the area that I was in, didn't even
Yeah.
realize it, just because it
hmm
looked different from the sky than it did from the ground. You know, so many things that you've got to learn. You know, when you start out. The big thing, though, I think, is just not letting it overwhelm you. Take one thing, learn that, and then move on to something else. Like if you try to do everything at once, you're quickly going to get overwhelmed and burned out. So
yeah.
just, find something that's of interest, start down that path, learn that one thing, and then kind of move on to other stuff. Um,
It's the thing. Myself and my buddies, we kind of refer to FPV as the rabbit hole, because
oh,
you
yeah.
you see a video online and you go,
Hmm.
"Oh, that looks cool. I'll do that." And before you know it, you've got two 3D printers and a dozen quads on the wall and
Yep.
two soldering irons because you wrecked one of them. And
Yep.
yeah, you start doing things and that you didn't even think that
Yes,
you
you
would
think
be
now I've got
Yeah.
into.
everything I need
Oh,
now.
yeah.
I've got absolutely everything. Then 2 days later, this happened. Oh, I need that tool. Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
Hmm.
It's
No,
never the
it's
case.
yeah. Learning how to
Yeah.
but the camera 180 rule.
yeah,
What's that? Oh,
yes.
you're going to find out. Or how do I mount this on the
Yeah.
thing? Oh, you need a 3D printer.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I
okay.
think it's going
Yep.
to be
I,
sorry,
I
go on,
think
go
that,
on.
no,
I was
you're
going to
right.
say, I
Go
think I'm going to
after
bring up
you.
the controversial thing of the DJI products, but the way that they've designed their thing. I mean, what what your sort of everyday, your sort of Joe Public wants when they get into something. Certainly, what I wanted in the beginning was just something that I could have and fly, and that's it. None of this
Hmm.
peripheral stuff. So I think that's certainly why
Yeah.
they're really popular with beginners. That sort of system, and
Oh,
it
yeah.
just it's a shame because it then sort of dead ends you into that ecosystem, and you end up
Hmm.
realizing that there's a whole world out there of better products, if you like, with more performance and
Yeah.
more this and that, and
Yeah.
it's tricky if you're a beginner, I think, getting into it.
Hmm.
There's actually a really dangerous slope that we put with that because, like, one of my big passions is education and like doing STEM stuff with schools and things like that, and
Hmm.
helping and educating the schools and the students with their STEM programs. And B&F kits have they've got an advantage and a disadvantage at the same time. People go see something on TikTok or YouTube and immediately they're hooked. And when they see
Hmm.
they can go and buy a complete kit, like, a iFlight 5-inch drone 6S, with a little pocket
Hmm.
radio ready to go, and that's the last thing that you want someone starting on.
Absolutely.
And
Yep.
we always, and the problem is they don't know how to fix it themselves either. They go, Betaflight,
true.
what's Betaflight?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, the first thing that we generally do with people will go, cool, here is a radio. This is how a radio works. And then go through the fundamentals of a radio with them. And we go into a sim. We use way too much information from Oscar Ling's website because it's just a wealth of knowledge on there. If you want to know something, it's there. And getting someone to build something themselves, they know how to fix it themselves. They understand how it's working, how it's going, and stuff like that. And yes, Bind and Flies are financially great products and awesome to buy and are convenient. And I'm guilty of buying them because they're
Quite
convenient
often
and easy.
cheaper, you know.
And they're
Yeah,
price
if you
points.
add all the sum of all parts are quite often cheaper.
Yeah,
Oh,
but when we talk about those just different disciplines too, though, that's like for racing, it's not cheaper for Bind and Flies. It's for racing, it is so much cheaper to build your own quads. Like, yeah, it's 60%, no, probably 30% cheaper to build a drone than it is to buy a Bind and Fly.
Yeah.
Does anybody remember the Eachine Taro range of drones? There was the Taro 79, the Taro 99, the Taro 109, and the 179, I think it was.
I remember
kinda
those.
cut my teeth on those. Tristan's probably going, "What are you talking about?" They were little kits that you could buy, and it had all the components that you needed in it. And
So
you
yeah,
then
parts
built it
parts all
yourself. So
split up. You had to
rather
build the
than,
thing. Yeah, right.
That's it. So it's like a bind and fly,
Yeah,
but a
cool.
deconstructed
Yeah.
bind and fly, effectively.
Right.
So you bought it, and the Taro 79 was $79, and
Yeah.
it was a little 3-inch quad.
I remember those.
So you got it in the box. All the bits were there most of the time, and there was Facebook groups and online instructions on how to build it. So when you get a flight controller and you're saying what's an RX and what's a TX and where do they connect to, you had the instructions there and all the bits in front of you. And I thought they were great, and it was a fantastic time for me getting into the hobby.
Yeah.
They existed, because I didn't know what motor KV was and what kind of props I needed for particular motor KV or kind of batteries, and all of this was just in one kit, and there was kind of minimal soldering required to solder the motors.
But it had pieces that worked together and would give you a good result. Maybe not depending on your skill of building, but you could get a good result from them, because the stuff all worked well together.
And then you could. I remember at the beginning I bought 2 of them, built one exactly as it was, and then built another one into a kind of Cinewhoop style frame, and then realized that the KV of the motors weren't quite suited to a Cinewhoop, but I was able then to swap out
As
the
you
motors,
learn, almost
kind of evolve.
Yeah, what a great idea.
As I learned, they were great, and it's
For
a real
sure.
shame
I mean,
that we
I'm
don't
getting
have
my
things
kids
like that anymore.
into this at the moment. My 8-year-old especially is really interested, and he's a better flyer than me actually with my 5-inch. But yeah, there's not when I think about something to sort of get him into the more technical side of looking after your quad, there isn't really anything out there at the moment for that.
Yeah.
There's a few of the Australian retailers do a kit as such, but it's they've just put the stuff together themselves.
So they've obviously they've cottoned onto
called
this.
it a kit.
That's a good thing. But I think it's a fantastic idea.
Oh, in Australia, so drone racing is a pretty big thing, and the same thing in the States. Like, you guys would be aware of multi-GP, which has just exploded over the past few years with the birth of HT0 and stuff. And so the STEM programs in schools have started like acknowledging all the drone activity. And so also in Australia, we have cadet programs for Defence Force. So we've got Air Force cadets, Army cadets, and such like that. And there's actually military drone racing teams. So, yeah, I believe next week in America, there's one of the international military drone racing tournaments happening in America next week. One of my friends from my local town, he's heading off there representing Australia, and they do programs with cadets where the cadets will go away on a camp for a week or two, and they build a drone, they learn about the drone, they learn about the radio, they learn how to fly, and do a course over a week. And some of those cadets have finished doing that course, joined a drone racing club, and have actually excelled and gone through the process and stuff like that. And kids these days, from playing games and stuff, have reflexes with their hands and things that
Oh yeah, yeah,
can do stuff that, us old farts can't.
Yeah.
100% for sure. Yeah, my
Yeah,
son, I got
but-
him into flying a little bit, and he's kind of moved
Yeah.
on and done other things now. But man, he caught on to it way
It's
faster
amazing
than I
to
did.
see, isn't it?
You know,
Yeah.
way faster.
100.
Hmm.
Yeah, but I think Tom would probably understand this. Like going back 7 odd years ago, like TBS laid so much groundwork with all of it and stuff. The source frames, they're it's an open source project. Anyone can get the files and cut the frames and stuff like that. You don't have to go and buy them. So much legwork's been done, and people have leapfrogged off that, and now it's about who's got the coolest prints on their drone and
LEDs.
stuff, and that's a whole different industry. People designing stuff and selling their prints, they're models for people printing and things, for their drones. It's you want a
That's the
specialized
thing.
camera mount, you got to pay for that file.
Yeah.
Kids will see that, as newcomers to the hobby, will see all of that, want to get involved, and then realize that there's so much work behind the scenes.
What I was going to
that.
summarize for it is 5 years ago, there wasn't the resources online and social media that there is now.
Oh yeah.
In today's society and access to information, you can learn and gather information at the click of a mouse. 5 to 7 years ago, there was very selected resources of where you could actually get the information from.
Yeah.
But now it's just so regularly available to everyone, which is a great thing at the same time.
Oh yeah.
It's certainly been my education in my sort of relatively short tenure in this. Everything that I've learned has been through various YouTube videos, finding out, and all the information has been there. Pretty much every single problem that I've come across, there has been someone else who's had that problem and who's shared it. So, I'd say the online community has been pretty amazing, actually, and certainly my development in the hobby.
When I first got into FPV, kind of the way went about it, I watched a video that had a Mavic Pro footage, and it said, here's Mavic Pro in the mountains, here's FPV in the mountains, and I was like, I want in on that. How do I do this? So I just started searching for FPV on YouTube, and I watched everything, tech tutorials, flight videos, everything, and I knew that even though most of the jargon and most of the stuff that I was watching was well over my head, eventually there would come a point where it would all click and all make sense. And I was actually on 2 weeks paternity leave with my daughter, and I just sat for 2 weeks and just watched everything that I could see about FPV, knowing what it was and things that I had no idea what it was, and just tried to let it all sink in. And over the years, stuff that I watched back then now suddenly just comes back around. And it kind of all makes sense. But I wonder, do people do that now? Maybe our kids today, maybe I'm wrong, the kids today just want really quick gratification, or are they not willing to put
Well,
that
certainly
work in?
sorry, go on, Dave.
I've got a few friends that are I've got a few friends that are teachers, and they've found that as you nailed it on the head, they want the gratification and they want the instant process. And when they're secondary school students in a 60-minute class, what can you really, how much can they progress in that time frame and stuff like that? and they want to, at the end of the week, have something that they can be ready to fly, which it's not realistic and stuff like that, and it's, I think for kids, yeah, but for adults, it's a different thing. That age bracket of, adults, we've got a logical path of trying to do some stuff, but kids, that aren't working yet, that are under the age of 17 and stuff, they want everything now and stuff. And mum, dad, go and buy it for me, please. Like,
I think that goes back to the wealth of information that we have, and it's easily to find all this information. So it naturally makes you think that you can get everything quickly and easily. Just because you have access to all the information doesn't make it translate, though. I know for my son is kind of that way, but he's more, he'll push through and try to figure stuff out and like delve into things and figure out why. And, he likes to do that. But then on the same coin, flip side of it, he wants stuff to be that way a whole lot quicker. He's persistent, but he gets frustrated with things pretty quick too, because of it. That whole instant gratification thing. And like even like ordering stuff, like he orders stuff on Amazon all the time. All these places, he's got a whole server room. He's got a server rack. He's got two enterprise servers in there now, and he's got his gaming PC and 3D printers and and he's purchased all that stuff himself. And
this is it arrives the next day. Doesn't have
exactly.
Anymore,
it's that instant gratification thing, And then what's funny though is like he was ordering some cables and stuff, for his service and stuff, and now he was ordering the cables and then realizing he was getting the wrong ones or the wrong size, or he would need this size or that size, and then he finally realized, I should probably order a really large spool of cable and get the tool and save myself a lot of money, But the instant gratification got the stuff here, but then you quickly realize that I got it, but this isn't what I really need. I need this. And then, so it's kind of interesting. And then like I've been helping a friend of mine, he's a teacher, and the class that he does, he teaches like 3D design and all that kind of stuff. And so his students wanted to get into this drone thing that they were doing. And so they figured out, they wanted to do that. So he found out I did drones and stuff, and so I kind of helped him out with doing the drones. And it was interesting, the same progression of wanting to learn the stuff, but then wanting that instant gratification. How can we get this quicker, and how can we do all that stuff faster, and why is it taking so long to learn, why is this so hard, that kind of thing. It's kind of interesting to see how the students progress through it with all of that.